Hey guys, this is your host LaChocolate Box, and we're here at the 12th Annual Urban Action Showcase and Expo at Regal Cinemas Times Square. We are celebrating the 40th anniversary of, The Last Dragon. And I'm standing next to, tell us your name, Louis Venosta? Is it that?
Venosta.
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 Okay, and please tell us, how were you involved in this film?
I wrote it.
You wrote it. Okay.
I invented it on my fire escape and my stoop.
How long did it take for you to write this?
6 weeks.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. So to upcoming filmmakers, what is one piece of advice you would give to them about finishing their work?
Finish it.
Just finish it?
Don't stop until you get to the end.
Wow. Okay.
Do not stop till you get to the end. Now, Last Dragon wasn't my first screenplay, so I learned that lesson earlier with much harder screenplays that were terrible until I got to the last 10 pages and went, oh, I learned something. The Last Dragon was my third screenplay, and it was a very fast write, unusually fast.
Okay.
So to young writers who are trying, get to the end. Don't ever stop.
Just don't stop.
Don't ever stop and say, oh, I got this wrong. Oh, let me go back and rewrite this. Get to the end.
Okay.
Because you can't know what you're writing about until you get to the end.
Wow. That's fire. That's fire. Okay, and tell us your name, sir?
Kirk Taylor.
Kirk Taylor. And you were actually in the film, weren't you?
Yeah. I brought to life one of the characters Louis dreamed up on his fire escape.
Okay, what was your character name?
Crunch.
Crunch.
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys remember Crunch from The Last Dragon? I think I do. I think I do.
By that little boy at the end, because I spit on the floor in the dojo. I'm sorry. Barry Gordy made a decision then that I had to have some kind of special butt whipping.
Okay.
And he set me up with little Ernie Reyes Jr. and Glenn Eaton.
Ah, that's right. Ernie
It
Reyes.
was just because you were so good that they needed you to have a really good ending. I think you need to revise the story about spitting on the floor.
Crunch, you need to be crunched.
Like you were so good.
Oh my
you
God.
needed to be defeated in a very special
Lord,
way.
Lord.
That's how I would interpret
You guys
that.
are too much.
I can receive that just because I realized I did a bunch of stuff, even the kicking the pizza parlor window in.
Eye rolls and shit you were doing in the pizza place.
Oh my God.
I'm saying you were the one doing stuff.
Did I start something?
Not taking anything away from anybody else, but don't reduce it to the fact that you spit. You were good. You deserved to have a good out, and they gave you a good out.
They gave me the best out, except
Right, with your butt getting kicked, right?
yeah, with two. It took two of them though.
Okay, well.
And yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, because we reduce ourselves a little bit and say, hey, it was a little this, but I even caught stuff like every time I see the film, I see something different in it or remember something.
I think everyone does.
Right, and so I just want, and also for you, this film is. I just thought about what kind of mind did it take to create the kind of things you created. It's not a normal mind in a very special way.
I'm definitely not a normal mind.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna just let y'all talk.
Yeah, it was.
Well, no, ask any questions you want.
It's a brilliant script, dude. It's brilliant. And
Let me ask you a question real quick. So, you were at the panel today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So during the panel, what single-handedly was the best question that you were asked with regards to your process as a character in that film?
I didn't get too much into that, but the process I went through. I mean, I got, just to tell you, this is crazy. Louis knows this story. I didn't have a role. I was a special ability extra because I had my brown belt in Shotokan karate, and I'm an actor. And so I always, when I was on set, I'm an extra. I'm waiting for to be called, and I see Michael Schultz over there, the director. I said, I'm gonna sit near Michael Schultz, near the people that I want to watch. I want to learn. And so I'm sitting there, and the dude that had my role walks in, a white cat, and Michael Schultz says, didn't I tell you not to shave? He said, I had a commercial audition. He said, let him go, fire him, get somebody else.
Wow. Okay.
And Torrance turned to me and said, well, Kirk
he
can do the acting and the martial arts. He said, hire him, get him a costume. And I was suited up in the scene.
You know, that's actually, I literally, standing up here tonight, I've heard so many behind the scenes stories, little intricate details that I never knew about films. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, Louis, for you, with regards to writing the film, what was the one thing that you I guess you said you just wrote it, but is there something
Well, I
that
said
happened?
that here. I mean, obviously it's not that simple.
Right, it's not.
No.
So you writing it and then it going into production, is there anything that changed from the point of you writing to what we saw in the film?
No, I think the essence of the film is the same. I mean, I set out to do a lot of things in this project. First of all, I originally sort of conceived it as a musical for the stage. I thought it should all be, I thought all the kung fu should be dance, and it should be like The Wiz, like,
Oh, wow.
like Jeffrey Holder and George Faison, just
Okay.
like turning all the kung fu into
wow,
dance.
okay.
Because that's why the characters are so big and theatrical. But it was my son's mother who said, don't be stupid, don't do a musical, write it as a movie.
Okay.
And we came out of a screening of Enter the Dragon in 1983 and basically made up the story on the train home.
Okay.
Chapman just asked me, why'd you call him Leroy? And I was like, well, I had a really good friend named Leroy, and my son's mother said, what are you going to call him? I said, Leroy. She said, Bruce Leroy. That's perfect. It was her that did that.
Okay.
And she had been, she had worked in Japan. We got home. She was reading Shogun by James Clavell. She was reading this big old novel, was sitting on her bedside table. I went, okay, there's the villain. There's Shogun of Harlem. We literally made, this thing just popped from both of our references and my life as a teenager fighting in Madison Square Garden at these tournaments where Ron was, and all the crazy shit where I always looked at the world and said, these people are all living in a kung fu movie. They all think they're in feudal China, and like the Bronx is fighting Brooklyn, and Queens is, and they're all fighting each other. And so, and the Shogun of Harlem, people think he's a villain. I was like, no, this is the precursor of Dwayne Johnson. He wanted to be The Rock. He was making this larger than life character that he was going to brand and become a star. And Leroy was in his way. Leroy was messing with his brand.
What an incredible, what an incredible story. I thank you guys so much for taking me down this memory lane, because honestly, I would not have known any of this if I didn't interview you guys tonight. But once again, you know, congratulations on 40 years of success, 40 years on the film.
It's a little longer, but
For you, a little bit longer, but at least with this movie, you know. So,
What are we going to do for the 80-year anniversary?
I don't know.
hopefully by then, the graphic novel will be done, the musical will be on Broadway.
Everything.
And all the other stuff will have happened.
Well, thank you once again for coming out. This is your host, LaChocolate Box, and we'll be right back.